So we've been focusing a bit on Barcelona and the ecosystem here, but now we are going to talk nationwide. How to internationalize the Spanish ecosystem from startup to scale-up. How do you do it? What challenges are you expecting to face? How are you going to fund it? We are discussing all this now in the next panel with Ernest Quingles, managing partner at Axias Partners. He's going to moderate this next session. Please come here and introduce us your speakers.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruth.
Parece que no funciona el micrófono.
Okay. So I was saying that welcome to this session. I have the pleasure to moderate this round table. It's always a bit tricky. I mean, after John, with an excellent English accent, I moderate a round table in English. But anyway, we will try to do our best. So I have the title of the session is how to escalate this and how to internationalize the ecosystem, how to reach from a pure startup and to become a scale-up. I think that we have plenty of examples, and the Spanish ecosystem has been quite dynamic, showing excellence in many cases. We have several examples of companies that they have escalated. Allow me to mention Globo, Cabify, Typeform, Wallapop, and others that they have reached this level, and we'll try to find out in this session which were the keys or the key factors and the key people that did make this possible. Just a couple of data before starting the session and introducing my partners here. 20% of the startups in Spain are being founded by people coming from other countries, and 80% of our startups are already having international activity. So, to explain a little bit about and discuss about these topics, we have, first of all, Nina Seghatoleslami. Nina, she's an informatic engineer. She has made at least 10 years in Quorum as investment banking, and she's an expert in the ecosystem, and currently she's doing M&A, 100% focus on technological companies. Thank you, Nina, for joining. We have Pere Vallès. I don't know how to introduce Pere because he's an entrepreneur, he's a mentor, he's an investor, a co-investor, he's an executive. He's someone that has touched and performed all the roles in the ecosystem. Pere currently is the CEO of Exoticca, which is one of the scale-ups that we have in our ecosystem. So thank you, Pere, for joining. And finally, we have Ignacio. Ignacio is a talent that he started in the city of London, in the city of London, in Goldman Sachs, and now is the managing director and the managing partner of one of the figures that in the Spanish ecosystem we were missing, that was the venture debt. So the three of them will support us and help us to understand better how to do this jump. So starting by you, Ignacio, when you are looking into an opportunity, I mean, which are the keys that as an investor and as an investor in debt, I know that you are also doing convertibles, but I mean, which are the keys that you are looking in a startup to become investors of that company?
Well, I think there's not a formula, an automatic formula, but basically, in general terms, it depends on the stage you're investing in the company, But if you're thinking, and if we're talking about internationalization, I think that when we look to fund a company that is at that stage, we're looking for a business model that we understand, that we see it's repeatable, that it's scalable, that it has traction or at least a good position in the local market where you grew up. So I think that it's very relevant. Then you get certain sensibility, about if the internationalization makes sense for the company, in terms of financial metrics, in terms of unit economics. Is this company going to be able to replicate this in other geography, and is it gonna be able to repeat the kind of margins it's achieving in the local markets, So I'd say that's a very relevant thing, Then we look at the markets in which the company is thinking about going, we look for a really thorough plan and a strategic sense for what the company is trying to do, So do they know well the market where they are expanding? Do they know the competitive landscape? Do they know if there are certain particularities in terms of regulation, in terms of cultural dynamics in those markets? The choosing of those markets and how you're going to go from one to another, I think it's very important as well to have like a plan from going one to another. That it's something that it's relevant to us. Also, it's very relevant, the management team. Do they have the skill set to go to another country? Do they have the connectivity? Do they have a network? Are they able to convey to the rest of to the board and to the investors this plan, and the investors understand it? Because we all know that things don't go as planned many times, and internationalization is a risk for companies. Scale up is a phase which risk is very present in the company, So that's important to us. The plan on how you're going to do it, it's important. Are you going to go with local partners? Are you going to go just and expand directly? And you need to have a financial plan to do that. So
Ignacio, but I mean, going deeper on extension fund, which is the fund in which you are a managing partner, you are co-founder of the fund. At the time when you started, when you took the initiative, the ecosystem was missing. The Spanish ecosystem was missing. I mean, can you go a bit, explain a little bit why you decide? I mean, with your partners, you decide to launch.
Absolutely.
Extension.
Absolutely. No, so as you said, Extension is a venture debt fund, and basically we launched it in 2020, so in the midst of the pandemic. We saw a very clear market opportunity. There wasn't much debt available for Spanish startups. The ecosystem was growing a lot. We saw a lot of European venture debt funds starting to do more investments in Spain. And we thought there was a good opportunity for another partner to come in with a different approach. We think we were a different approach to banks or to other small established funds, and we wanted to do things differently, So that's why we launched it. I think the former panel was here, the partner of Claret, talking about venture debt, but I think it's very useful for companies in different stages of their life and for different business models, and certainly internationalization is one of them.
Thank you, Ignacio. Pere, you succeed by escalating Seghatoleslami. And you make out of a local company a large international company. When you reach Exoticca, it was also a small regional, yes, with a lot of technology, but regional travel agency. In which moment did you realize that Exoticca was already a scale-up? And which were the keys, for this transformation?
I think, honestly, I think it's different. It's difficult not to say when a company, where is the line between a startup and a scale-up, when a company becomes a scale-up. I would say in the case of Exoticca, maybe in 2019, because in 2019 we reached 50 million euros of sales, 80% coming from international markets of these 50 million. We did our Series B round at the time with an international fund. So maybe at that time we fit that criteria to be considered as a scale-up. But curiously enough, the year after, 2020, COVID came. So our sales went down. So we became again a startup using that criteria. So I think it's difficult. In our case, as many scale-ups, we have had our ups and downs, no? And COVID was clearly down for us. But then in 2021, we recovered very quickly, and we did 75 million in sales. We did our Series C round also with an international investor, and we recovered, I think, the scale-up status, no? But I think the transition from a startup to scale-up, it's probably size, no? Being basically a company that has already proven, no, that there is a product market fit for what they are selling, and it has already proven that there is a go-to-market strategy that allows that company to grow efficiently, that it allows the company to grow without having to throw a lot of money into marketing without getting a good return on your investment, no? And I think in the case of Exoticca, it's curious because we had the COVID in between, and we're a company that is in the travel space, but around 2019, 2021 is when I think we crossed that barrier.
I know that I mean, your company and your team, you are very strong on defining the organic growth strategy and maybe some inorganics and so, but also you were very strong on defining the needs of the company in terms of financing. The cap table and the financing of the company has evolved in this period from 2019 to 2024.
So we've just closed our last round of financing, which was our Series D. We closed it about 4 or 5 months ago, which was a round of 60 million euros. So we've continued raising capital, no? Maybe every 18 months, every 2 years, although the company is very close to breaking even, to reaching a positive EBITDA. Hopefully in Q4 we'll reach that new milestone, no? But yeah, I mean, this is a company that has expanded very quickly. We've grown from 2 million euros in 2015, which was our first year of sales, to almost 300 million this year in 2024, and to grow at this speed, no? And also to internationalize and open new markets. About 90% of our sales come from outside Spain right now. We've required basically capital to fund this growth. But one thing I have to say is that we didn't go to outside markets, outside Spain, until we had proven in Spain that we had a model that worked, basically. So we first, before we went international, we had success in our local market in Spain, and it's something that I personally recommend, no, to any startup, because to go international and open new markets is something that is expensive. And if you don't have the product market fit, or if you don't have an efficient go-to-market strategy that allows you to acquire customers in a profitable way, and then it can become very, very expensive if you go to other markets, and especially if these markets are big markets like the US, no? Too early.
Nina, it's your turn. None of this would be possible without the advice of a good financial advisor like you and what you are doing. So which is, in your opinion, the role that M&A has to play in this escalation of the startups up to scale-ups, or in the process of internationalization? Then I will ask you about the appetite of the buyers.
As we're hearing from you two, is like internationalization is expensive. So there's another way of internationalization, which is through M&A. And this is being acquired by a company that has more resources, more team, and it's more offices around the world that can get you, that can give you this scale. I get a lot of requests from entrepreneurs who want to sell their company because they have a proven platform. They're working in their own country, Spain. They have very good clients, but they've not been able to go beyond Spain, or they have like proof of concepts in other countries. So that's how we help them to basically, get the scale through being acquired or being part of another strategic company that has more resources. So basically, it's another way of internationalization the companies, or if you're more on buy side, so you can get to another country by acquiring another company.
And which is the level of appetite that you see on the buyers now?
There is appetite, but the valuations obviously are not as high as in 2021. But I think we're going through an adjustment, and we're like coming from very high valuation, a lot of money in the market. So right now there's a lot of appetite. There still, like in terms of deal volume, we see a very good amount of M&A activity, but in terms of deal value, it's slightly lower than before.
So we can conclude that, I mean, your role is more as an accelerator of the process of escalating companies?
Yeah, exactly, yeah, because I get a lot of entrepreneurs that they say, we don't want to, because it's expensive, you need to go, if you want to go beyond your country or international, go beyond, go start a new country, you need to raise funds, and not everyone is ready or become profitable and get your, EBITDA to, reinvest your EBITDA in going international. And they see it as, and we see a lot of good platforms here, a lot of good technology, a lot of good founders that all they need is to be plugged into a bigger company with more resources.
Ignacio, back to you. Let's talk a little bit about the ecosystem, the financial resources. Do you think that in Spain, to make possible this growth, this escalation, we have enough financial resources, or maybe our companies need to go for this process of escalation to look abroad and to look for other kind of investors, financial support?
I definitely think that we're in a much better position today than we were like 5 or 10 years ago, no? So I'm sure about that. 2021 was a record year in fundraising by Spanish funds, more than 1 billion. And there's a lot of dry powder there. More and more funds are appearing. They're becoming bigger. There's a lot of international interest or international VC interest in Spain, and we are seeing it increase every year. More presence for European investors, American investors. So I think there's capital, and there's more capital than we used to have. Nevertheless, we're not indifferent to what's going on the global scale, as Nina was saying. No, equity investors have been very cautious over the last years, valuations, etc. So that plays a role in Spain as well. In Spain, I think the public capital is also playing a relevant role in the ecosystem, and that's good. Nevertheless, I do think that we lack in that capital that we have in Spain. It's maturing, and that goes for investors and entrepreneurs as well. We lack a little bit of experience in these processes of becoming a scale-up and repeating your business model in other countries, no? So I think investors are getting more experience as their companies, such as Exoticca, and their portfolio are going through this transition, and they're learning from mistakes and from things that are going well. Entrepreneurs as well. So I think that positions the market, and that capital is getting smarter, and that's relevant. I think also in Spain, if we were to talk about other assets that we have farther beyond capital, I think we have a very good competitive advantage versus other countries in terms of costs. A lot of companies that have scaled in Spain have done so with their biggest center of costs in the local region. And also we have a massive advantage, which is the language and the culture to scale to certain regions, which could be very interesting for the Spanish ecosystem.
Tell us a bit on how do you, you mentioned also the public money, the public support on the venture debt. Explain a little bit more how it works in your case. This collaboration with the public sector.
Well, I think the public sector has massively accelerated the growth of the Spanish ecosystem via funds, no? Via investment, indirect investment in funds. If you were to look, at the VCs in Spain, I'd say 80–90%, they raise their first funds either with the EIF or with ICO. ICO has played an amazing role. Then they're becoming more active on direct investments. Next, tech, Fedeti investing very actively. Then you have Anisa and so on. So I think they just that capital. That inflow of capital, it was necessary in Spain, and it still is necessary, I think, for the ecosystem to mature. It's not the United States where the capital is very available, or other regions in Europe which attracts more international investment naturally because of their markets.
But Ignacio mentioned something before. He mentioned the word mistakes. I'm sure that you wouldn't be here without having made 1, 2, 3, I don't know how many mistakes. Now you have a company that most probably next round will be more than 500 million, looking for becoming a unicorn. Which are the typical mistakes that you are making when you are trying to internationalize and looking for this kind of scale-up level?
Yeah, I think the most common mistake is trying to go international too early, before you have that product market fit and that efficient go-to-market strategy in your own market. I think it's very risky to try new markets because it becomes very expensive and you can burn a lot of cash very quickly. No. Another mistake is sometimes to open too many markets at the same time and try to do too much with too little. No? I believe that it's much more effective, and this is a strategy that we follow at Exoticca, to focus on a few markets, but to be really relevant in those markets, to be able to invest enough marketing to become relevant and to build, in our case, we are a B2C company, to be able to build a brand. No? And I think you can only do that by focusing on one market at a time, no? And then gradually rolling up into new markets. So I think that's another mistake. Another mistake, and I think Ignacio was referring to, it's that basically there are certain markets where Spanish companies feel more comfortable, which is Latin America, but Latin America is not always an easy market. Especially in B2C, it's tough. It's a tough market. No? It's the market with the worst conversion. You have a freemium model. It's the market where you have less premium customers. So sometimes we have this tendency, no? We go first to Latin America when there are other markets in Europe or even the US, no? That are big markets, and we have the perception that they are more difficult because they have a different language, but they're not necessarily more difficult. No? So I think these are probably the most common mistakes I've seen.
I remember that you have explained many times that before going to or attacking to the US market, you went first to the Canadian market. That was the case, and which was the reason behind?
Well, what we did in reality is something that I like, and I think startups should do more in all the decision making, which is to use the trial and error method. No? So we open up 5 markets to try them, just to test them simultaneously. We opened Germany, France, the UK, Canada, and the US. And very quickly we saw that in the English-speaking markets, in the US, Canada, and the UK, is where we had the best traction. So what we did is we put all our focus and investment in those 3 markets, UK, Canada, and the US, and we deprioritize France and Germany. So we follow this method, no? Which is a method I recommend. It's a method that big corporates don't feel comfortable with, because in big corporates you get penalized if you make mistakes. But in a startup environment where you need to move quickly, it's a good way to find out very soon where your product has the best fit, no?
And talking about best fit, I mean, Nina, according to your experience, your international experience, which are the profile of startups or scale-ups that from the international perspective, from the buyer's perspective, because you have prohibited to me to talk about investors, so the buyer's perspective, are more attractive?
So it depends on the buyer, because right now we have so many different types of buyers. We have like the strategic buyers, like these are like Google, Apple, all these big tech companies. Then we have the financial buyers that are private equities. And then in between, we have so many different types of buyers, which is like search funds, all those buyers that they buy and hold, like Constellation or Team Blue, or they're consolidating a vertical. So if we look at strategic buyers, they want like a good platform, good technology, good teams, and proven product in the market, that either their own market or internationalization, but stable ARR. So we want like stable ARR. In terms of financial buyers, they're more concerned about profitability, so they look at EBITDA, or there's this rule of 40, that it's your growth plus your profitability should sum 40. And then in between, there are other buyers that are looking more on which vertical you're in, and if you're a leader in one of these verticals. But I just wanted to make a comment on what Pere said about Spanish startups or scale-ups, that they go to, the natural market for them, it's Latin America. I have to say that it's really, you said it's tough, but it's also not very attractive for international buyers. LATAM, they see a lot of risk in LATAM. They don't want to get into LATAM. They even, it's like sometimes they ask us, or can we close those subsidiaries? So it's a lot more attractive for an international buyer to buy a company in Spain that has gone to Europe or US or North America or Canada than LATAM. And then the other thing that I have to mention before leaving is like the language. It's a barrier here. I still find entrepreneurs that they don't speak well English. And in a process where you need to speak to your buyer, or like 20 buyers, most of them are in North America, it's really a problem, and I still find it, which is really, really bad.
Right. Near to the end of the session, I want to have one last question, which will be more or less the same. So, your best case in extension, and when we will have extension 2? So 2 questions for you.
So the first one was?
Your best investment in extension.
Yeah, well,
successful one.
No, I mean, we have many. So I cannot choose one, but I mean companies that are been performing quite well. BFLA, it's a prop tech company in the prop tech sector. Ukio as well is doing a good job. I think it's still early days. We just now finished investing the first fund, so it's early yet to say. And for the second fund, I think very soon we'll be up in the market with a new fund, hopefully.
Thank you, Ignacio. Pere, when you will reach, the goal for Exoticca, and which is the level you want to reach?
I don't know. Time will tell us, no? What we're doing is building a very consistent equity story. Every round that we do, it's at a higher valuation than the previous one, so that the existing investors get some appreciation on their investment. But I think the valuations that we had, for example, in the last round, are valuations that are very reasonable and are really backed by the fundamentals of the business.
It's always inspiring what you say. Nina, without mentioning names, because I guess you are under NDAs, which is the best transaction that you can share as an example of a company escalating and...
Right. Obviously, I have few clients right now on their due diligence I cannot mention, but maybe I can talk about a deal that probably everyone knows about here. It's Captio, that we sold it to Certify, and I was actually with the founder, and he was very happy about this deal. They multiplied their ARR by 4 after acquisition, and now he's trying to replicate the model with the ecosystem here. So.
Very last, anything you want to add, Ignacio, Pere, Nina?
No, thank you.
No? So thank you, and I wish you a good continuation. Thank you very much.